Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Now, here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
And welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again, whether you're tuning in on your community station in Mississippi at WYAD 94.1 FM. We welcome you all to our program, or those joining us through our online affiliates around the world. We're glad to have all of you with us as well. I had a chance to read a book this summer that I was so and intrigued by that I took to Twitter to be able to tell the author how much I appreciated it. Told him I would love to be able to speak with him. He said, let's do it. I reached out to his people, and now that brings us to today. Ken Baker is with us today. Many people know him as a senior correspondent for E! News on E!, but he's also the author of the new book called The 10 Commandments, My Search for God in Hollywood. We're going to talk to Ken not only about the journey of being able to look at his success, but also what really matters for him and how he's been able to do that in the lens of the world that he's able to work in each and every day. If you're just hearing about Ken's journey, we'll tell you at the end of our segment how you can get your own copy of the book. But Ken, hello to you and welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
The pleasure's definitely all mine. I said, that's one of the great things about social media, Ken. Like I said, after I read the book, and I have to thank our good friends at Amazon.com who had sent me an advanced copy of it. And I think there's so much in this book that our audience will appreciate. I think an obvious question, though, Ken, for a lot of people will be this. You are known for being able to, of course, interview, high-profile individuals. You've been able to share some really major stories with the world through E! What has it been like for you to become the story and to be able to share your life this way?
Well, I had written a memoir before, many years ago. It came out in 2001 that ended up being made into a movie, actually, called The Late Bloomer. But after that, I focused on my journalism career, writing about other people, also was writing a lot of fiction. And so it was definitely for me to come and write about not only myself, but to write about my deepest part of myself, your soul. I mean, what is the more intimate thing to delve into and share than your exploration of what is your faith and what do you believe and what is the meaning and purpose of your life. That was a very daunting task for me, and I'm glad I did it. And essentially what happened was, I was coming up to the 20th anniversary of my time in Hollywood. I moved out here in the mid-'90s. I was working for People magazine as a correspondent and Us Weekly. Ended up going on TV a lot and doing radio, and that led me to take a job as a correspondent at E! News, where I've been for about 10 years. And I was coming on my 20th anniversary, and I just realized that I wanted to do something meaningful. It started off as general as that, and I'd written 7 or 8 books at that point. But I was like, I want to do something meaningful. Maybe I'll have a charity event, or maybe I'll write a book. I don't know. And I just really thought a lot about it. I reflected. And I realized the most important thing that I could do for myself at this stage of my life, firmly in my late 40s, I have this successful career in Hollywood, is really define, discover, and share what it is that I believe, what is my faith, and what is my relationship with God. Right. And I felt like I had lost touch with that over the years, and despite all the successes that I had had and material accumulation, I definitely was feeling spiritually empty in many ways. And I set off and dedicated at least 1 year, and it's turned into now just a daily life practice, but I said for the next year, I'm going to do everything I can to search for God, but I'm going to do it where I lost touch with God, and that was in Hollywood. And I looked at it the same way, like, how when you lose your keys and you're like, wait, where's the last place I had my keys?
Right.
And it's usually in your house. So you start in your house, right? And well, the last time I remember in the first few years I moved out to Hollywood was I used to pray. I used to occasionally go to church. I was definitely more spiritually oriented, and I just sort of lost touch with it. I almost became carnal, in a way. Like I was just more of the material world and caught up in it. And I think that it was an inevitable collision of forces where I found myself filled with a lot of anxiety and stress, and I was even suffering from depression and a lot of confusion over what I stood for. And this project that ended up being the book, The 10 Commandments, is really about my journey of faith.
Yeah, and it's a journey that so many people can relate to, Ken. I think, too, there are some individuals who make appearances throughout the book that definitely had an impact on you. One of those individuals is Judah. The thing I appreciated about Judah, as you shared in the book, is not only, of course, the way that you all were able to connect and communicate with one another, but the fact that it was not something that was, quote-unquote, preachy. It wasn't something that was forceful. It was just who he was and how he expressed himself. Do you think those type of relationships, Ken, are also what helped you along this journey to realize not only what you had lost, but also discover the renewedness of what you'd found?
Yeah, for sure. As I stated, the whole premise of my journey was that it was going to take place entirely in Hollywood, amidst the world of Hollywood and everything that means. And I was very determined to really find a sense of spiritual value because, going into this, I had no plans to leave Hollywood. I was like, I'm going to be here. I enjoy my work. I have questions about it, but, I generally enjoy and have success in what I do. I need to be able to be spiritually sound here. And I had heard for years about Pastor Judah Smith having a weekly Bible study that actually one of my E! News colleagues, Jason Kennedy, had started years ago. And they would have it at the time, they were having it at a hotel in Beverly Hills in a ballroom, and people would show up. It's free. He'd talk about some passages in the Bible, maybe play some music, give an inspiring sermon, and this very young Hollywood kind of set would go. I knew that Justin Bieber had been going there, Selena Gomez, Gwen Stefani, you name it, actually. Tons of household names were going. And so when I decided to really pursue, and question my spiritual beliefs and really define that, I had an open mind, and that included rediscovering the Bible. I'd been raised Catholic, but it had very much become sort of a bitter Catholic in a way, and sort of not ever anti-Christian, but not necessarily buying into the dogma anymore, and was really confused by it, but I wanted to have an open mind. And I'm glad I did, because I started going to the Bible study with Judah Smith, and here's a guy who, the last time I had really experienced Bible study was with a priest in a robe talking about things from the King James Version, and I'm a kid, and I have no idea what he's talking about. I'm bored. I think I had ADD probably at the time that was undiagnosed, and I didn't really know it. So that certainly didn't help. But at the end of the day, what Judah did was, here's a guy in skinny jeans and a T-shirt and hipster glasses talking on a real relatable level about stories that are 2,000 years old and relating them to everyday life that I could relate to. And the interesting thing about Judah is that he has this Hollywood clientele. His flock are actors, writers, producers, musicians, performers, everyone. And he's able to understand the unique pressures and questions and challenges that can come to those people. And I'm firmly included in that as a TV personality. And I have to say, it really has helped me on my journey. And Judah's become a friend. And, I don't proclaim to have all the answers. I still struggle with what my faith is. And I'm not quite sure, but I'm a lot closer. And I definitely, through Judah, I know for sure that, yes, I do believe in God. I do have faith, and it's evolving and it's growing, and reaching out to people is a big part of it. And that's what I tell everyone. Like when I stepped into that Bible study, it was an awkward, uncomfortable situation, because that was the last place I ever thought I would ever end up. I was like, I don't want to read the Bible anymore. I don't want anything to do with that. Well, I had to come to grips with the fact that it was like, well, where did that get me? It got me a lot of stress, anxiety, confusion, unhappiness. Well, I can't be like that anymore. I have to be open-minded, and I was. And, thanks to people like Judah Smith, it really helped me along the way.
Yeah. I'm going to talk more about an interaction you had with Judah, Ken, that you outlined in the book. I want to say, for those who are just tuning in, either on the radio side or online, you're listening to Conversations Live. We're excited to welcome Ken Baker to our program today. Ken is known to many, as well as myself, as a senior correspondent for E! News on E! But he's also the author of a new book called The Ken Commandments, My Search for God in Hollywood. And, there are other individuals, too, that stick out, I think, in the book that people will recognize. Of course, the back of the book, mentions the Kardashians, a really interesting interesting experience you had with Chloe and Lamar that you outline in the book, Ken. But to go back to Judah, though, there's that poignant moment where you ask him to pray for you, and it's something that you say in the book that you cannot remember asking someone to do for you before. And the reason I think that struck me as I was reading is because, again, people will look at you, Ken, and say, you have everything going on for you. You have everything that people, when they think of success, that they think of. And yet there was an emptiness, that you experienced. You expressed that later on in the book, even with your own children, in a really beautiful way. What has it been like for you now to be able to open up a dialogue for other people as to not only what they believe, but also realizing exactly where real happiness comes from?
Well, I mean, it was a very poignant experience. I think that when you're truly open, you open up your heart, you open up your mind, you allow the light to enter within you. And again, and I'm not even saying this from any particular religious perspective. I mean, you could be a Muslim, you could be a Christian, you could be a Buddhist, whatever the light source is for you. It is not going to shine upon you if you do not drop your ego and make yourself available and open to receive that light. It's as simple as that. And the profound experience that I had of rediscovering a relationship with God really did happen after I said, you know what? Enough of talking myself out of everything and thinking I could do this all on my own and that I have all the answers. I didn't. And, I had gone to see, as part of my journey, I went to, I was like, I have to be in Hollywood. I have to be open to everything. I mean, gosh, there's a chapter on Scientology. I mean, I went to Scientology for a day. That did not go very well. But, I was putting myself into these uncomfortable situations because I wanted to explore and know firsthand. And one of my experiences was I went to see a psychic. It's a young man by the name of Tyler Henry. He has a reality show on E! He's a psychic medium. And I always thought that stuff was kind of hogwash, scam artists and false and was a contrived sort of performance. I never really believed in any of that stuff, but I was like, I have to give it a try. A lot of celebrities go to psychics. This guy's got a reality show. He's a big talk of Hollywood. So I went, and I was blown away. This guy was doing a reading on me in my office at E! Where he knew details about my life and purported to be talking to my father who died 20 years ago, and had all these intimate details that I've never shared anywhere, and it absolutely blew me away. I have no idea to this day how he would know those things. Major deep background. There's no way to even research it. I went to Bible study that night and said to Judah, what do I do with this information? And I am so confused. I grew up, in my understanding from my Catholic background was, this was the stuff of, witches, and this is the, the work of Satan, and, but I felt like this is true, but I've been going to Bible study and feel that what you're sharing with me is truth as well. And Judah was a great moment. He's like, Ken, keep going where you're going. God gave you a brain for a reason, for you to analyze, to dissect, to think through things. And through that truth that you find, you will find God. Don't worry about it. Don't stress out about it. It was the best advice I could ever have gotten. And he prayed with me. And I realized, I asked him, I never asked anyone, will you pray for me? He did. And it was very touching. I cried. It was a very moving moment right before his Bible study. And this Bible study is super popular, by the way. If you get a chance to do it, he now does it at the Saban Theater that they rent out in Beverly Hills, and there's like hundreds of people. It's a really joyous celebration, and it's fantastic. And it was a very moving moment to just, I guess you'd call it surrender, and just say, hey, will you pray for me? And when you open yourself up in that way, that's, like I said, when the light comes in, and that was definitely a moment.
Ken, I want to actually read a bit of what he said to you, because I think it's a great thing to tie in with our audience and what you hope they take away from this book. It's found in chapter 12 of the book, Know God and You Shall Find God. Judah says this to you, and I made a note of this because I've shared this point with a friend of mine, because I think it's something that people will appreciate when they think about it in the context that Judah said it to you about gifts and about who we are. He said this, as you outlined in the book: Ken, the Bible says the gifts of God come without repentance. Tyler has a gift from God. It's from God. Whether he believes in God or not, God doesn't take our gifts away because we don't believe in him. Kobe Bryant, we celebrate his gift. Kobe can believe in God or not, but God gave him a gift to play ball. And I bring that up because I think there are so many people out there who think because they're not in Hollywood or don't live in New York and they're not on television, that their gifts don't matter. Is one of the big things that you hope people realize is that we all have gifts. We all have been given something special, and it's really how we choose to use it.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, you're reading a passage from the Ten Commandments where I literally, in that moment, I knew that this was such a profound conversation. I said, Judah, can I hit record on my phone app so I can record this? So there's an incredible transcript of this very beautiful, authentic moment of us praying together and him talking to me. And I have to say that, when I look at this whole idea, I mean, I remember having a big crisis moment that I talked about in the book where I'm at Bible study, and, like I said, I tried Scientology, I learned meditation, which I still do to this day, which is fantastic. That also involves more traditional prayer as well. I, did all these different pursuits, studied Buddhism, went to church with the Kardashians, which we can talk about, all these things. And I'm sitting there, and I'm at Bible study one day, and Judah starts talking about how in Ephesians 29, God says, do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. And I'm sitting there thinking, wait a second, I was just on TV today trashing celebrities for acting ridiculous. I was engaging in gossip, the stuff that in Ephesians 29 they say is bad. The work of gossip and negativity or that non-loving kind of talk or thought that Buddhism talks about is a way for you to become further from your spiritual conscience.
Yeah.
And so I had this real moment of like, oh my gosh, can these gifts that I have of being able to communicate, to talk, to have knowledge about this world of entertainment and celebrity, and to entertain and inform people, and maybe provide them some escape from the hurricanes, floods, and wars of the world. Is this gift that I have being used to glorify God? Or am I using this gift to kind of detract from a loving, peaceful message? And it really has shaped me tremendously. And to be perfectly honest with you, it's a battle that I fight every day. Because I just walked into E! today, and there was a slew of things that I had to talk about. I talked about Madonna. I made some comment about her appearance or this or that. But I always have to check myself and say, am I coming at this from a place of peace, of love, of compassion? Or am I coming this from a place of negativity or, criticism or judgment? And I think that those lessons in the Bible and some of the other spiritual study that I've done has really helped me get to a place where just the simple act of me reflecting, pausing, and just meditating on my behavior has made me a more mindful, more spiritual person. And I hope that people will see my journey and relate to it, because like you said, it doesn't matter if you're in Hollywood or you're in Chicago or you're in Mississippi or in Texas. We're all human beings, and I really believe that we all have, and I've seen the most beautiful, the richest, the most popular, the most liked people on Instagram. It doesn't matter. They still have a spiritual void within them, they have the desire to know God, as Judah Smith talks about in my book. And that is something that I think we all can relate to.
For sure. And it's so powerfully delivered, Ken, and written in such a way, I think, that everyone, no matter, as you mentioned, no matter where they live, will be able to take something away from it and look at themselves and do that self-examination, and even as I mentioned, as you kind of talk to your kids about this, about realizing that, that not only, is God everywhere, that God has something for everyone. And I think that is such a big lesson for us all. Again, everyone, Ken Baker has been our guest for this segment. His new book is called The Ken Commandments, My Search for God in Hollywood. It's available now, of course, through our friends at Amazon.com or through your favorite bookstore. If they don't have it, they'd be more than happy to order it for you. Ken, the best place to find you is Ken Baker Now on Instagram and Twitter. Is that right?
Everything on my social media is Ken Baker Now. I also have a website, kenbakernow.com. How's that for consistency?
Right.
And also, I just wanted to share this real quick, is that part of my journey has been learning, really discovering, well, what is my purpose to spread, like I said, love, compassion, understanding of the world? Where do I fit with that? And that exploration for me has led to not only writing my book, The Ken Commandments, but I've also started an online writing academy called mindfulwritingcenter.com, where I teach in a series of classes. I teach students how to become more mindful writers and to take an approach to communicating in a mindful way. And I have a system of doing that. And the first class is free, and it's up now. So mindfulwritingcenter.com is another place you can go. But otherwise, I really hope people discover the Ken Commandments. And I hope, some people have read it. They've reacted in a way that really has been heartening, because they're like, gosh, this made me want to go out and challenge my beliefs and go explore my spirituality. And if I stimulate or inspire people to do that in some way, then I feel extremely gratified about that.
Well, I think you definitely achieved that, Ken. Thank you so much for being so open with the world in this book, and looking forward to speaking with you again.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying, as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Make sure you take out time to enjoy some good music, as well as a great book. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live. You will make it a great one.